Hi, my name is Stephany Dumond. I'm a Park and Rec Supervisor with the state of Connecticut. I manage Burr State Park and Penwood State Park. My job includes doing purchasing, maintenance to all the facilities. It also includes working with the public, doing special use licenses, making sure that we're doing project requests, so following through with different projects that we have going on. Also training, supervising our seasonal staff, including our full-time staff. Every single day is different, which is amazing. One day I wake up and I come to work and I can be writing reports and doing project requests, and 10 minutes later a tree comes down. So okay, we gotta go cut that tree and we gotta make sure the public can access that trail. To okay, well now it's gonna start snowing. Let's start prepping all the equipment and making sure everything's winterized. We do a lot of maintenance. We do a lot of landscaping, making sure that the parks are safe and easy for the public to get into. When I was 18, I knew I wanted to be a park and recreation supervisor. I have known this for my whole life. I loved hiking, I liked fishing, I used to ride snowmobiles when I was younger, so I really just wanted to do this job, and I wanted to work with land management and just preserve our parks for the future. I have been working to become a park and recreation supervisor for around 10 years now. I have a lot of different education and experience working with different divisions and different state agencies. So I have a bachelor's, a master's, and then I've worked with the state of Connecticut and also the United States Coast Guard. So I did all of these things to get back to the state. I wanted to work for the DEP. I knew that at the age of 18 when I walked into my first supervisor's office and was like, I want your job, how do I do it? Kept working hard throughout my last 6-7 years to get to this position, gaining as much experience as possible. While managing Burr, I was recently just hired as Penwood's full-time supervisor. It's beautiful. My jobs are in the woods. I get to have meetings at the Hugh Blind Tower and I get to interact with the public. This is my office, which is a great office to have. Not everyone gets this type of experience. Just keep going. Keep raising your hand at every single opportunity. Even though you might not want to do them, volunteer programs are amazing. That's where you're going to get all of your experience. There's a lot of trail associations that you can work with on the weekends. Those are things that are going to help you, one, feel more confident walking up to someone in the public or working in the woods. But it's just going to help you gain as much experience and just keep working for different jobs, different divisions. Even if you want to be in parks, go work for wildlife for a little bit. Go work for boating. Those are all things that are going to help you. And just keep pushing forward. There's no reason that you have to stop if someone says, oh, I can't do this. A lot of people have told me that there was no way I was going to be able to get my dream job in mid-20s. That can happen. It can happen for you. Just keep pushing hard and don't forget where you want to be at the end of your days. Don't forget where you want to work. I'm standing next to a tree. This is amazing.
Hi, I'm Munson. I'm an environmental protection maintainer 2 in the Putnam Memorial Unit. I do any kind of maintenance, including cutting trees across the trail, using a tractor to move gravel, or I do a little bit of carpentry. I fix some signs, I paint signs. I pretty much do anything under the blanket term of maintenance. I didn't even know you could work at a park. I had no idea, never even crossed my mind that that was a job. So I asked them, how do you work here? They told me to fill out a seasonal application and come work for them, so I did. And I got hired within a couple weeks as a seasonal maintainer there and fell in love with the job and never left. My favorite part of my job is that I can be in any of our parks at any given point on any day. I can go into work with a plan and all of a sudden they're like, oh, a tree came down over at Pierpont and you have to go cut it up. So I get to go to Pierpont, hike the trail with a chainsaw with one of my coworkers and go cut up a tree, and I get to get paid to go hiking. It's pretty awesome. That's probably one of my favorite aspects, is getting to work outside in the park all day. My advice for somebody who wants a job like mine as a maintainer in a state park is to apply as a seasonal worker in any aspect, whether it's ticket booth, camp office, park ranger, or maintenance. You get to learn what goes into the park, because all of those jobs are needed. So even if you're not hired on as a maintainer, you'll still get some of the knowledge. But yeah, the best advice I could give is to apply as a seasonal and ask as many questions and act as interested as you are, and also show your passion. I love my job. I am excited to come to work every day. Not many people can say that.
Hello, my name is Officer Jordon Jacquo with Deep Encon Police. I have been an Encon police officer for approximately 2 years now. We are the primary enforcement for all the hunting, fishing, and boating laws in the state of Connecticut. We protect the environment. We patrol mainly state parks, state forests, and state waterways. I spend a lot of my days hiking in the woods, checking hunters, checking fishermen, as well as on boats, checking boaters and making sure that they're following the rules and regulations of our waterways. If there's usually a hunting call in any town, they call us to it even if it's not in the state forest, because we're the ones that are knowledgeable about the hunting laws. We are also the main responders to all the state parks in the state. So the local PD may get called to it, but it will ultimately be our call. Part of our job is we are regular certified police officers. So we go through the regular municipal police academy. So like any other local police officer, we go through the same exact training. The training only differs after we come out of the academy. We do 12 weeks of field training program, which means we ride with another officer and we respond to calls with that officer. And little by little, we start to learn more and more about how to enforce stuff and how to use discretion and what we do. So before I became an Encon officer, I went to school for elementary education. I thought all the way going along that I was going to be a teacher. I came out and I learned that teaching wasn't for me. I spent a lot of time working with kids, and I also spent a lot of time working with children on the autism spectrum. That is a giant part of my background, and I feel like that helped a lot to become a police officer, because it allows you to be able to interact with a whole bunch of different personalities and a whole bunch of different people. I became interested in becoming an Encon officer after seeing and reading about everything that they do for our state of Connecticut. I've always been a big outdoorsman. I spent a lot of time fishing, and I spent a lot of time boating, and I spent a lot of time hiking. Those are three things I love to do, and that all falls into what we do. My advice for anybody that would like to become an Encon police officer is get to know state parks, forests, and waterways. Get to know something about hunting. If you're not into hunting or fishing, start learning about it. Also, work on your communication skills. A lot of our job we spend by ourselves. It's usually just one officer dealing with, it could be one to a group of individuals. And you have to be able to communicate to all of them effectively. Sometimes people need education and enforcement in order to make them understand what's going on and what's happening. It is not an easy job, but it is a job that I find fulfilling, and I feel like if you joined us, you would find fulfilling as well. Not everybody gets to spend every day outside enjoying what nature has to offer, as well as protecting the environment. It's something I want to continue to do for the rest of my career.
Hi, I'm Wendy Flynn. I'm an environmental analyst with the boating division. I've been in my position for about 16 years. So growing up, I was always interested in the water. The water I was drawn to it. I went on Project Oceanology all the time. I loved everything about it. I did start as a seasonal. I was 16 at the time, and I did work at a campground. Not very glamorous job, cleaning restrooms in the campground. From there, I did go over to the camp office, so a little bit more customer service. That customer service that I learned at the camp office really helps me with what I do now. I do a lot of customer service on the phone, in the field, or at an event. My position has changed quite a little bit. I did start with the environmental side of educating boaters. So I talked mostly about invasive species, using pump out stations, and just overall how to be a clean boater. You could be inside at a boat show in the winter, out to, visiting one of our 117 state boat launches throughout the state, educating boaters on wearing life jackets, the proper safety equipment that they need to use when they're out on the water, making sure that they have the proper clothing when they go out on the water. Read our resources that we have online, our boater's guide that we publish annually. It has all the safety equipment and just some suggestions. We just want people to be prepared. Over the last few years, we have been seeing a large increase of boating, whether it's new boats, used boats, canoes, kayaks, paddle boards. We've been seeing a lot of increase at our state boat launches, at our parks, and everything like that. To be a boater in Connecticut, you have to have a boating license, or a boating certificate is what we actually call it. You have to take it's an in-person class. During the pandemic, we were able to teach virtually. So we are teaching both virtually and in person. The class teaches the basic boating information that you'll need to operate a boat. Boating is a lot of fun, but it can also be, a little bit tricky at times. We do have some seasonal positions that go to our state boat launches and interact with boaters. So if anyone is interested, you can always check out the Job Apps website and, take it from there, whether it's a boating position or something in the parks. Parks and boating and con-seasonals have a lot to offer. Take a seasonal position that you may not think fits, your goals, because you will learn something from it.
Hello friends, I'm Ranger Russ, also known as Russ Miller. I work here at Hammonasset Beach State Park. I am a EP Maintainer 2 for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And what I get to do here is I get to run the Meggs Point Nature Center. So the Meggs Point Nature Center is an environmental education facility. We get to teach people of all ages. We have public programs and school programs where people get to go to the different habitats here at Hammonasset, or they can tour the building and learn about reptiles, amphibians, fish, crabs, any of the creatures that you can find here in Connecticut. For me to end up in this career, it's really something that I've wanted to do my entire life. My mother tells the story that when I was a small child, I used to tell people when they would ask what I wanted to do in the future, instead of saying a fireman or a president like most other kids, I said that I was going to work for Smokey Bear. Right out of college, after my associates, I began in the Connecticut Conservation Corps, which was a program to get college students into more full-time education and careers within the department. I then went on to be a seasonal for a few years, and then when a nature center position opened, I began running the nature center at Rocky Neck State Park. I did that for about 13 years before I transferred to Hammonasset, and I've been here now for over 20 years. My favorite part about working here at the Nature Center, I get to work with two of the things that most people consider the most difficult things to work with. I get to work with children, and I get to work with animals. and I get to work with them at the same time, which is doubly challenging, but also doubly rewarding. On an average day, I can go from being up to my knees in mud on a salt marsh to handling a snake to talking to a group of third graders at a birthday party. And that's the thing I love most about my job is I never know what the day is going to bring. Every day is a little bit different, and there are new challenges or problems to solve every day. Anyone that's looking for a job here in the department, particularly at a nature center, the best thing you can start to do is you can volunteer. Starting at 13, you can start volunteering. And then at 16 or 18, depending on the career path you choose, you can work as a seasonal for the department. I think the best way to start is start taking those classes like I did at small nature centers, anything that you can do in school, environmental or ecology. I love working for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This is my office. You can't ask for anything more.
Hi, my name is Susan Robinson. I'm an environmental analyst at the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. I work at the Osborne Homestead Museum and the Kellogg Environmental Center here in Derby, Connecticut. So my job includes being the museum curator. I create programs, tours. I'm also the environmental educator at the Kellogg Environmental Center, doing teacher workshops, school programs. I'm also the volunteer coordinator for the museum and the center. I coordinate wildlife monitoring, coordinate Project Feeder Watch, bluebird nest box monitoring, the decorating at the Osborne Homestead Museum, and other programs at the center. So what makes Frances Osborne Kellogg so unique is that many of the dairy cows, the Holstein Friesian dairy cows, of today are descendants of Ivanhoe, who was a famous Holstein bull that she bred. Well, in high school, I was interested in biology, and when I went into college, I chose Earth and Environmental Science, and because Earth and Environmental Sciences was such a broad field at the time, I did an AmeriCorps internship with the National Park Service in California. There I worked at a national park doing environmental education, science, and cultural history education, and that's where I gained an interest in the environmental field. I also worked in Brooklyn with the National Park Service as a seasonal, doing outdoor conservation work. We were doing research out in the marsh and collecting samples and surveying wildlife. And as a seasonal, you're still looking for that full-time job. So I applied everywhere, and there was a position open here that had two things that I was interested in, the environmental education and the historical interpretation. So I applied for it, and I got the job here. Every day looks different, and there's something new to do every day. Also, it's a beautiful park to work at. So what I would say to someone who's interested in working for DEEP, start out as a volunteer or an intern, also apply to be a seasonal and kind of get your feet in the door, and also, experiment with different, there's so many opportunities. You can work outdoors, you can also work indoors, you can do wildlife conservation, you can do, like what I do, work at the museum as a curator. And so kind of get your feet into the door doing those things. Also find a mentor. It would be very important to get a mentor. And it's a great place to work. See you in my office.
I'm Elise Bouthillier, and I am a state environmental conservation police officer. I'm a graduate of the University of Connecticut. I obtained bachelor's degrees there in natural resources, wildlife management, and animal science. And about 2 years after graduation, I was lucky enough to be hired by the department. So I don't have any prior police or military experience, but many of our officers do. So if someone had told me that I was going to be a police officer, I never would have believed them. I always joke, and I like to say, and my parents will confirm it, I was raised by old hippies in northern New Hampshire, but I was raised very much in the outdoors, hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking. We had a small family farm, but I thought I wanted to be a vet. That is what I wanted to do for my entire childhood. I was going to be a vet. I have worked all over the state. We are full state police officers. We enforce a wide variety, everything from your hunting, fishing, and trapping. In the parks, we're responsible for all kinds of criminal matters. Anything you would see in a normal town or city, we see in our parks and forests and campgrounds. We are also responsible for boating enforcement on the Connecticut River, Long Island Sound, and all your inland lakes and streams. Our officers on the shoreline are also responsible for commercial shellfishing enforcement and commercial fisheries enforcement, which is a really large industry in Connecticut. I don't think a lot of people realize, but the oyster industry alone is close to $3 billion. So it's a busy job. We never know what we might see in a day. It's what I love about it. I might go from, checking fishermen or checking boaters at a boat launch, driving through a couple parks, seeing what's going on there, or I might get a call for a hawk stuck in blueberry netting, missing persons, search and rescues at all hours of the night, water search, a boating accident. I'm a member of the Boating Accident Reconstruction Unit, so we will actually take accidents and kind of figure out what happened after the fact. We've had an alligator walking down the street in New London. We had a marmoset somewhere in the southwest corner of the state, a bobcat in a house in Killingworth. You name it, I've seen it in the almost dozen years I've been working. We're a very non-traditional law enforcement agency, which I really enjoy. We don't have roll call. I start my day at my house from my truck. This is my office in this patrol truck, so I carry everything I might need and then some, because I never know what I might be doing in a day. If I'm going on a boat, if I'm going to be hiking for 5 hours out in the woods, looking for a lost person, needing to render medical aid, dealing with an injured or sick animal. There's no one way to get here. Very frequently from high schoolers, college students, I get the question, what do I have to do? How do you get this job? And I like to tell kids that there is no one way. That's one of the amazing things about our department is we have an incredibly wide variety of backgrounds in our officers. This is such a non-traditional police job and covers such a broad spectrum of topics. A decade in, I'm still learning new things constantly, but working for DEEP as a whole is great. It's a really laid back atmosphere, I guess maybe is the best way. Everyone that works for DEEP loves the outside, loves the outdoors. It's a great job.